Welcome to Cox OC Connection. This is Civic Connection and I'm Lacy Kelly. Today we're excited to welcome Max Gardner, who is the President and CEO of the Orange County United Way. Welcome, Max.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Well, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about your past career. You had a very long career in the private sector. You've been with United Way 4 years, but
Right.
Before that, you were the president of the Irvine Company apartment communities. Tell us how you're enjoying your time with United Way and how different is that from the private sector job that you had?
It's pretty different. As you can imagine, probably personally, the biggest change is going from the private to the nonprofit world is financial, as you would
Sure.
expect. But you know, the real difference, especially from the Irvine Company, is the availability of resources. There is so much that we could do in the community. We just don't have the resources for it, and that was never a challenge at the Irvine Company or in my real estate days. We always managed to come up with the resources or the dollars to get things done. If you had a program that was worth doing, you could find the resources for it. And I'm sorry to say that that's not always the case in the nonprofit world.
Sure. Competition is a whole different ballgame, isn't it? So the Orange County United Way, or I believe the overall United Way, celebrated 90 years?
Well, actually, that's the United Way in Orange County.
Okay.
But overall, United Way just celebrated 125 years.
Got it. Okay. So with the Orange County United Way celebrating its 90 years, you have announced this landmark initiative called FACE 2024.
Right.
And it makes some fundamental and measurable impacts in our community here in Orange County over the next 10 years, which will lead up then to your 100-year anniversary. So can you tell us a little bit about that plan?
Yeah, the goal is to really make a difference in the community over the next 10 years and lead us up to our 100th anniversary. FACE 2024 is all about some very measurable, specific goals that we established, but we established with the community collectively. And they're very simple goals. The goals are to cut the high school dropout rate in half, to reduce by 25% the number of financially unstable families in the community, to increase by 1/3 the healthy youth, and to cut in half the homeless and housing insecure children in our community. And you'll notice that all of those are really wrapped around children and their families. And that's because as the community sat down and talked about these goals, we recognized that if we really wanted Orange County to be different 10 years from now, we need to focus a significant portion of our energies on the children and their families in the community. So it's all about the children and all about bringing us together to focus on those. And FACE itself is an acronym for Fund, Advocate, Collaborate, and Educate, because that's the way we intend to do our work.
I see. Okay. Well, what I like about what you just said is there's measurable goals,
Right.
which often isn't the case in some nonprofits. So tell us about the process that you went through to arrive at those goals.
Yeah, it was an interesting couple of years, actually. We took between 18 months and 2 years really to go through a strategic planning process, all led by our board of directors, and the staff was heavily involved in the process. But we had in each of the areas of education, income, health, and housing, because those are the building blocks for a self-sufficient life. We had 4 board members lead each of those groups, and then we brought in nonprofits, we brought in experts in the field, we brought in civic leaders, we brought in our business partners, and they're the ones that really work together to come up with those individual goals. And it was interesting when they finished, each of them individually decided that they really had to focus on children and their families in the community. The other thing that was interesting about the process is when we got all done, they all recognized that the goals couldn't stand individually, that you had to deal with all 4 goals collectively. In other words, you couldn't just decide to focus on education, because if you don't focus on housing, for example, if children are moving from school to school or they don't have a decent place to do their homework or they're in crowded conditions, they're not going to get an education regardless of how good the school district is that they're working in.
It's a system. They're all connected.
It's all interconnected, and you just can't separate them all and only focus on one aspect of it. And it's true with all the different components of it.
Sure, that makes loads of sense. Okay, well, how do you deal with the fact that Orange County is perceived as such a wealthy community? We do have these needs, we do have these problems. How will the United Way deal with that perception issue?
That's a huge challenge for us. And I'll point out quickly that the poverty level in Orange County, based on the federal standards, is about 12%. But when Stanford and the Public Policy Institute of California looked more closely at that and adjusted for things like the cost of living in Orange County, actually the poverty rate goes almost to 25%. And that means that 1 out of 4 of our residents lives in poverty, and that's just way too high. So our job is to get that out to the community to make sure they know that. But not only do they need to know that, they need to know it makes a difference to them, that there actually is an impact and a cost to the community and therefore to the other residents in the community if we don't solve those issues. And they also need to know that there are things that we can and are doing to solve those problems.
Sure. Okay, so can you give us an example of how you're reaching out to local government or school districts?
Well, I mean, the first example would be the event you and I work so closely together with
Sure.
the Association of California Cities, where we brought the elected officials from various cities within the community together to talk about these goals. And I think we got great affirmation that we were on the right track with those. But beyond that, we're working in many different ways. I mean, we're working with the school districts to get out and put many of these programs in place already. Our Read 15 Minutes Aloud each day is a program. We just went out to some of the schools in Santa Ana and actually had our kickoff event there, and we all got to sit down and read with some of the kids in
Nice.
in the classes and actually read the book of When You Give a Pig a Pancake. So
Okay.
that's one I hadn't read to my granddaughter before. So
Okay, that sounds like a great one. I'll have to look at that.
Anything we can do to reach out to the community and make sure that everybody's involved in this process, that's what we're trying to do.
Okay, so FACE 2024, any events that the viewers should know about?
Yes, absolutely. We have our Women's Philanthropy Fund breakfast. It'll be our 11th annual, is coming up on April 29th. That'll be at the Hotel Irvine and Jamboree Center. And on June 29th is our Walk United event. That's coming up out at Angel Stadium, where any of our participants, it's a great morning, and not only do you get to walk through the stadium, you get to walk on the field, see
Nice.
yourself on the Jumbotron, and wave to your friends and family as you go by. So.
Oh, that is very cool.
Yeah.
Well, I will make sure to be at both of those.
Well, I'll look for you.
Max, I want to thank you for joining us today. I know you're a busy guy, so we appreciate your time.
It's been a great pleasure, Lacy. Thank you.
Thanks for watching Cox OC Connection. We'll see you next time.